more increments, maybe 100 calories a week. And the idea is to basically slowly increase the calories while reducing the amount of body fat you gain. Because chances are, when you start increasing calories again, you are going to gain some body weight. You're going to gain some fat. That's just part and part of the parcel. But you need to get yourself to a position where you can actually start to diet again. So you need to get up to where you are, either fast, as Eric Helms may say, or more staggered, as Lane may say, and then start your diet again. But until you've got a healthy metabolism and a good place to start from, you can't really go any further. Having said that, I have had clients in the past who were maybe under-eaten by 1,000 calories or so. We increased their calories by 100, maybe 200 calories, and granted, they started training with me. So they were training harder and they were doing more than they had done in the past. So actually, we managed to get them to lose body fat and up their calories because their body was able to use it and it was building muscle and it was doing all that good stuff. They were new to training. So Andrew, I admire you for actually putting that message in there, and you're not the only person that has done this. I've dealt with 4 or 5 people that have been in this position before, and I can guarantee you there's a lot of people watching this video that are in the same position or have been there, because we get a lot of questions asking for this specific video. But basically, we are looking to gradually or more rapidly increase our calories and try to gain as little negative weight as possible. And by negative weight, I'm obviously talking about fat, but keeping them in the resistance training is going to allow us to use some of those calories to ultimately try and build muscle, because we're in a surplus, we're going to be anabolic. It is a great time to be hitting the gym and trying to build some muscle, and that is one of the ways that I think you can really counteract the potential fat gain. You're in surplus, let's build some muscle. Then when we diet again, we're going to be from a position where having more muscle's metabolically active, we can probably diet on more calories, we're going to look better, we're going to carry on burning calories after our workout, and it's just a big spiral. Muscle is awesome. So on that note, I hope to help. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a massive thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.
All right, so a lot of information there. Basically, it's saying don't starve yourself, because your hormones is what's really going to cause the chemical reactions in your body to actually lose weight. And if you're not going to eat food, then the hormones just won't work right for you to actually lose or get that desired body that you want to get. All right, so that's pretty much our fitness tip for tonight. And now to get into the meat of what we are going to discuss tonight, I went away recently to Las Palmas, Gran Canaria. And over the last, I think it's 32 years. I think I'll get corrected by my guess if I am not correct. Well, St. Lucia has been hosting the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers for 28 years, and it's a transatlantic journey from Las Palmas all across the Atlantic to Rodney Bay, St. Lucia. And this year I got chosen to act as St. Lucia's media representative to pretty much go and get the information, capture the videos, the interviews of those individuals, the sailors that are making that journey across the Atlantic. And it was really shocking in terms of cultural shock, they call it, when you see an island, it's called an island, so developed and doing things really big. And I was able to speak to a number of the sailors. We got one of the stories before I introduce my guest. We had that story featured, and we're going to play it for you. A St. Lucian, the only St. Lucian this year making that trip, that sailor, part of that crew. Let's take in that video.
2017 Atlantic Rally for Cruisers officially began last Sunday. Close to 200 boats sailed off the coast of Gran Canaria en route to St. Lucia. One of the boats making the journey across feature a St. Lucia sports fanatic as part of the crew. Alfonso Ochilien hails from the community of Grand Riviere. Crozile, he spoke to how he ended up as one of the sailors racing across the Atlantic.
I've worked with Sir Frank for many of years now. I'm his personal trainer, and we were just talking through about sailing when we were training, and he said, and I mentioned the act as a joke, and 2 days later he said to me that you're coming, you're going home with me, we're doing the act. So I already thought he was joking when he said that, and here I am today. we're crossing the Atlantic for the very first time in my life.
Sir Frank Chapman is captain of one of the English vessels used for the race. Alfonso, who is his personal trainer, explains what he has been through in preparation for the race.
I'll tell you something, I've never worked so hard in my life. It's constant. The constant check you have to make and the preparation that goes into it, checking the weather forecast, food. It's just non-stop. Every night I go to bed, I'm just absolutely exhausted from all the work we've been doing. So now today, what we're going to do today, we're going to wash the boat down again, make sure everything's prepared. Stuff like that is just amazing. The preparation that goes behind the scene is just amazing.
Earlier this year, Alfonso sponsored a football competition in the Corinth community. His sponsorship included uniforms and training gear for the next generation of local footballers. His captain, an experienced sailor who was recently knighted by the Queen of England, spoke to how to deal with possible mishaps on the water.
I think that people tend to think about horror stories because they imagine, you know, very capricious weather, high seas, very remote areas. But generally speaking, one can avoid the worst of those by planning very carefully, choosing what time of the year to sail. Also being very careful about choosing the type of vessel you're sailing in, being confident that both you and your crew have the right level of experience to undertake something of this type, that you have the right equipment on board just in case of an emergency, you know how to deal with it, and a lot of careful preparation to deal with those instances.
Boats are currently nearing the shores of St. Lucia. Alfonso Ochillier is the only St. Lucian participating in the transatlantic event. Before he set sail, Alfonso encouraged more St. Lucians to get involved in sailing to be part of this exciting adventure.
I think being here in Las Palmas in the starting line is very exciting. The atmosphere is amazing, and if anybody wishing to do it in the future, should definitely come over and try it. I'm just can't wait to get home.
For the DBS News World, I am Alex Bousquet.
All right, so there is a man from the Grand Riviera area, Grand Riviera Grizzly area, pretty much as we speak on the waters, trying to make their way across to St. Lucia. It's a very, very interesting story. Their personal trainer pretty much training with his with this individual who says, you know what, let's make that trip to St. Lucia. And so very interesting story there. We've seen some other stories of individuals who are pretty much from all walks of life. We still have one more story to show you guys, and the boats are pretty much on their way, and seeing the ending is okay, but seeing the beginning something else is really another level. And tonight my guest is Mr. Thomas Leons. He is the manager, the CEO of Events St. Lucia, and he also was able to spend a couple of days. He was a latecomer there, but he was able to spend a couple of days and actually see the sailors off in Las Palmas. How are you doing, sir? Welcome to 758 Sports.
I'm good, Kenson. Thank you very much. Good evening, St. Lucia.
All right. So first of all, for our audience who's seeing you for the first time,
Yeah.
who is Thomas Leons, and who is Events St. Lucia? How did Events St. Lucia become the organizer on our end of the arc?
Yeah, so as you know, Events St. Lucia was established earlier this year, February to be exact, and we've been charged with producing a number of national festivals. Some of those festivals have been branded under the Soleil St. Lucia Summer Festivals umbrella. But they've also been charged with producing other events of national significance. The Atlantic Rally for Cruisers being the case in point. The thinking, of course, is to centralize the production of all those major events under the Events St. Lucia umbrella. So hence Atlantic Rally for Cruisers, which previously was done by the St. Lucia Tourist Board, as they did with Jazz as well. So all of that has been moved under our portfolio to produce for St. Lucia. So that's how it came about.
So St. Lucia, a lot of persons ask, Kenson, since when sailing, what does sailing have to do? But persons don't understand that there are different categories to sailing.
Yeah. Well, of course, you do have in the Arc, for instance, you have those who simply just want to cruise across the Atlantic. So these boats will typically take about 18 days plus to get to St. Lucia. And you also have those who are taking part in the Arc Plus, or the racing division. Those boats can take as little as 8 days and a few hours to cross the Atlantic. So it all depends on the racing class that you take part in. You also have some boats that are taking part in what is called the World Arc. They are going around, circumnavigating the globe, and that takes an entire year to accomplish. So quite a few persons out there doing different things on the water, and as you saw in the clip, I'm sure Alfonso is looking anxiously to get closer and closer to go here, as the case may be.
Yeah, because it is an absolute, it's a workload. Every day, sometimes you have to be pulling the sail. And he is a fitness instructor.
Yes.
And a fitness instructor, St. Lucia, is telling you how exhausted he is. And for a number of years, I remember pretty much having conversations with individuals who've been trying to explain to St. Lucia that, first of all, sailing is definitely a sport. I mean, it's a competitive event. And secondly, it is a huge contributor, to St. Lucia's GDP and what actually goes on there.
Well, certainly. You do have about 300 vessels taking part in the ARC. I think 200 are taking part in the 200 to 225 are taking part in the cruising part of it, and you have about 75 vessels taking part in the racing part. So it's about 300 boats, and a total of about close to 1,500 persons will be landing on St. Lucia late November into early December. So as I've said before in previous programs, I think I had a clip with you whilst we were in Las Palmas. After having taken part in a journey lasting a little over 2 weeks on the water, when you get to St. Lucia, the first thing you want to do is set your foot on dry land, you know. So of course, those persons will want to probably get off a boat and go and spend a couple of nights in a hotel, just to reacquaint themselves with land, so to speak, after having been under the water and seeing only seawater around you for 2 weeks practically. You'll also have those vessels that are continuing on the journey having to be reprovisioned, and by that I mean you have to stock up with food. They will buy this from local distributors. Water, you have to resupply these boats with water, you have to resupply these boats with fuel, as the case may be, and of course some of those participants also have families joining them. So the 1,500 sailors you have, each of those boats might have 2 or 3 additional persons joining them in advance of their coming to St. Lucia. So you probably could have about 2,000 plus persons being here just for the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers. So can you imagine in that space of time the amount of money that will be circulating in the St. Lucia economy when all those persons are spending in various forms? They'll not just be staying the entire time in the marina.
Exactly.
They'll need to move around and perhaps taking a tour or two, even as far as Soufrière. They may want not to take a boat. Having been on the boat for 2 weeks, they'll not take a boat down to Soufrière. So they'll probably take a taxi down to Soufrière. So the revenue for the taxi driver, the sites that they will visit, the Sulphur Springs, Diamond Falls, will benefit from the revenue that these guests will bring when they visit those sites. So, like I said, it's quite a bit of money circulating in the economy when those participants arrive on St. Lucia.
Definitely. So, St. Lucia, we definitely see the benefit that we are gaining from the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers. And I remember year in, year out, we're trying to sensitize St. Lucians about ARC, appreciate ARC, gravitate towards it and see how they can benefit from it and pretty much get the word out there so that more people could get on board and support ARC locally. So tell us a little bit about your trip. I mean, I wasn't there, so tell me tell me about your trip.
As I've also said before, I think it was having been a witness to the ARC culmination in St. Lucia with a previous entity, as a sponsor of the on-land events for ARC. I think it was very important for me to see what happened at the starting point and all the preparation and the seriousness with which this event is undertaken, not only by the World Cruising Club, but also by the participants. And I think in the clip there from Alfonso, he indicated that there's a lot of checks that have to be made almost on a daily basis to ensure that your vessel is seaworthy, to ensure that the right amount of food to last you, not only for the amount of time you think it will take you on the journey, but in case something goes wrong.
Incidentals,
you have enough food to last you for perhaps a month, even though your trip may last 2 weeks. And all the safety checks, make sure your equipment is working. I mean, some of those boats have perhaps equipment to convert seawater into drinking water, desalination plants. I mean, these boats are very sophisticated now. So all of that has to be checked. And you do have vessels that start off on the journey and turn back because one thing or another has gone wrong, you know. So there's a lot of checks that goes into putting that that journey together. But one of the benefits I think I forgot to mention earlier on was the question of the exposure that St. Lucia gets to persons of so many different nationalities. You have participants from about 40 different countries taking part in the arc. Yeah? So countries like Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, Germany, countries where St. Lucia perhaps could not afford to spend enough money marketing-wise to make an impact. But you have those participants taking part in this journey and arriving on St. Lucia. They will speak about the journey. Some of those persons may have blogs or websites or that will speak about the journey. They may have Instagram accounts or Facebook accounts where they will speak about St. Lucia. And that is invaluable marketing for the island of St. Lucia. They may go back and speak to their friends about the wonderful experience that St. Lucia represented them. Will be in perfect host. I'm sure we'll take very good care of our visitors when they do get here. So when those persons go back to their home base, they will speak about it to their friends and their families. And those persons may be enticed into coming to St. Lucia for a longer vacation, having been exposed. And word of mouth, as you know, is a very powerful tool of communication. So this is an additional benefit of having the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers that you can't probably even measure in dollar terms.
Definitely. All right, so much information there. I know persons are itching to call in and make their contribution about what we're discussing. So what we'll do, we'll take a break. I have a couple more questions for him, but we'll take a break and we'll open the lines for your contribution and your questions. I'll also read some of the questions that have been coming in, and we will talk some more about Atlantic Rally for Cruisers and other sporting developments. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 758 Sports Talk, and we are discussing the ARC and some of the other issues in sports over the last week. And I got a couple of messages, a couple of questions regarding some of what I've sent. And some individuals are calling this phone number. The number to actually call to get us here is not on the screen yet, but it will be up in a little bit. But you could send me a message in the meantime at 4880929. Now the number is there, 4519788, 4519788 is the number to call, and not the 4880929 that you send a WhatsApp message to. And with regards to what we discussed earlier, what we showed earlier, somebody said it's very important to drink water, but do you think bottled water is safe and healthy, bearing the chemical that is used to make the plastic bottles? All right, a very good point and observation. Most of the literature I have read on bottled water gravitates, as you rightly said, towards the plastic being made. Now, the plastic is not necessarily unsafe until heat is involved. This is from most of the literature I have read. I'm not sure if an additional thing came out yesterday that I did not see, but most of what I've read is about the heat involved. For instance, if you leave your bottle just lying there in the sun, the water, the plastic, and then you're drinking it, then it becomes a problem in terms of cancer and what we've been speaking about. For instance, if you're driving and you have water and you leave it in the vehicle, and then you come back, you pretty much close all the doors, leave it in the sun, you go to the office and then come back, that water is basically unsafe. Don't drink that water. Now, I've been concerned about the amount of persons that have been springing up selling water around, the city circuit, but most of the times they keep it in a refrigerated form, so it's not as safe as when you originally take it. But the advice I could basically give is when you buy bottled water, you carry it with you and you consume it. Most of us, the problem is we do not consume it. We dilly-dally, so to speak, with it. We have it, we take a couple sips, and we don't finish it. So just drink it and finish it. And take that picture, send that picture to us, and we'll put it up there.
That's a nice phrase, drink it and finish it.
Drink it and finish it. I don't understand why none of the water companies go. All right, somebody says, okay, all right, oh my God, I went way over with this message here. All right, somebody says, I guess to me, congratulations to being there, but thought you were kidnapped. Okay, some people didn't see before a little while, thought I was kidnapped there. All right, we have some other messages here. You know what, we need the tables so teams can see how other teams are doing, who may meet in the knockout stage, goal differences, top scorers, best defensive goalie. Gone are the days when we only know what's going on in our group. Okay, so I guess that's regards to the football competitions, the basketball competition. Okay, we have our first caller. Good evening. You're live on 758 Sports Talk. Go ahead with your contribution.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Okay, I just got a message from somebody. Is that about the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers?
Yes, we're discussing the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers.
Yeah, what day is it?
Well, actually...
I'm sorry, it's a long-distance call, sorry.
Yeah, so the race started on the 19th of November.
Uh-huh.
And the first vessels typically arrive within 18 days of having left Las Palmas. So count 18 days from the 19th of November. So that's about the middle of December, thereabouts. From the 19th of November, so that means it has already started.
Yes. Yeah. We covered the start.
Okay, and if I could recall, it ends in St. Lucia, right?
Yes. Yes, yeah. Well,
so you're talking about...
There's also the World Arc that continues from St. Lucia. So some vessels, about 40 vessels or so, at some point, maybe in early January, will leave St. Lucia and continue on a journey, and they call it the World Arc. So they will continue on a journey around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the activities, I remember the grand finale is that it's an open show at the marina, right?
Well, that has changed over the years. We've had different formulations, but there are a number of different events happening within the marina, even at Pigeon Point itself. I think there are welcome receptions taking place. There's a prize-giving ceremony for the participants, trophies for persons who place in different divisions.
There's an award ceremony.
There's an award ceremony, there's cocktails, there's a number of activities happening all over the north.
So foreigners coming to the island could just come along if it's an open event, is it?
Some of the events are open, like the prize-giving ceremony will be for the participants.
Okay.
But there are, like I said, there are cocktails in the marina and open functions that the St. Lucians can attend as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Leos. You have a good evening. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Which reminds me that we are streaming on Facebook on St. Lucia Sports Online. If you go to www.stluciasportsonline, as this caller did, you will be able to see us streaming live on Facebook. All right. Somebody says, what are the measures put in place for safety of these individuals when they get here? I guess we in a climate where this year we have a record number of homicides and some of the stuff that is not recorded in terms of we don't normally get the statistics on robberies and that sort of stuff. And so I guess that's one of the questions that would be on person's minds.
Yeah. Well, perhaps concern, given that climate that exists, as you say, perhaps we should not publicize the measures that are put in place.
That's a good answer.
For the safety of not only the participants, but the public during that period. But there are measures being put in place. We have, even prior to the start of the race, we had meetings with the Marine Police. So they're involved in the whole activity and ensuring security for the participants.
Okay, all right. Okay, we have another caller. Good evening. You're live on the 758 Sports Talk. Go ahead for contribution. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. Yes, so you were saying the Marine unit. And
yeah, the Marine is very heavily involved in the securing of the participants, because the participants, not all the boats will be able to dock in the marina. Some of them will be out in the open bay in Grizzly. Some of them will want to go to Marigot. Some may want to go to Soufriere. So there's a plan in place to ensure that. Yeah.
Okay, definitely. All right. Somebody said, I wanted to know that since Mr. Crafton is the Winter Island Volcanoes manager, who's from St. Lucia, can we have a say or input on? Again, St. Lucia, the number to call is 451-9788. Somebody's trying to call the WhatsApp number. So the person was saying, okay, wanted to know that since Mr. Crafton is the Winter Island Volcanoes manager, who's from St. Lucia, can we have a say or input to have Jonelle Eugene on the team? After all, they're both St. Lucians. I'm still hurt. I just to answer your question, just your comment, I'm still hurt that Jonelle Eugene is not on this team, because I've not heard any justifiable reason why this young man was just ostracized, and there's been no explanation that has made any sense to this day as to why somebody who was the MVP of an under-17 tournament that the West Indies Cricket Board pretty much said was the developmental competition for the under-19, the defense of the under-19 title, and then this guy is on the reserve team, never given a chance to play for the first team, never given a chance to fail, but he fails to make the training camp. It doesn't make sense to me. That's a whole different show. And so trust me, there's a lot that can be said about that. All right, so we have another message. Some organizations need to be accountable for the water situation at Darren Sammy Stadium, but this is St. Lucia where sports is secondary for now. It's just talk. So sad. All right, so I guess that person pretty much had that. They wanted to say that for a while now, because the stadium and the water situation is. Trust me, that's another show for sure. Yeah. A lot to discuss on that for sure. All right. So, Mr. Leos, like we said, there's the cruising, which takes about 18 days, and then there is the actual
Arc Plus.
People are racing. I remember having a conversation with two of the guys who said some of the guys they come there, they are racers, and they're very sociable, but when they get on the seas,
it's a different story.
It's a different story. It's all about competing and sort of thing. So some of the stuff we spoke about is a prize giving ceremony. Do we have anything set up in terms of the dates or the venues for those events, or what can St. Lucians be part of? Because we know some of the stuff is restricted, some of it is allowed for the participants, and some St. Lucians may want to get involved. Yeah,
well, a lot of what the St. Lucians can be involved in would be happening in the marina itself. The only two activities that would be really restricted to the participants would be the welcome reception, which is going to be held at Pigeon Island, and the prize giving ceremony, which is going to be held on December 16th at the Johnson Center. Okay. So essentially, it's really the beginning. When they get here, we welcome them in the grand reception, and on the 16th, when we close off with the prize giving ceremony. But everything in between that will be open to the public. In terms of activities within the marina, we'll have live bands, as the case may be, where necessary, or DJ music, or steel band, as the case may be. So everything in between the arrival of the boats and the 16th, the public is free to participate.
Definitely. We've been hearing a lot about sailing over the years, and this is a sports show, and so you may not be an expert on that, but I will still get your thoughts on in terms of St. Lucia being an island surrounded by water. We're really not hearing a lot of individuals coming to the fore and deciding that, hey, I'm going to be sailors. Over the years, we've had persons who've made that transatlantic journey and that sort of stuff, but we seem to not hear too much enthusiasm. What do you think is the cause for that, and what do you think we can do to ensure that persons get involved in the act?
Well, perhaps we're taking the fact that we're surrounded by water for granted. It's almost like persons make a big fuss about the beach. Persons from countries where it's not very close to them, when they come in, they make a big fuss about it. But St. Lucians living here, maybe the majority of us don't know when last we went to the beach or when last we went for a swim.
That's true.
You know, so perhaps it's that. But I mean, you do have a lot of persons taking part in activities underwater in various forms. I mean, I think most of the catamarans that are run by Carnival Sailing operated by St. Lucians, captained by St. Lucians. The Pearl is captained by a St. Lucian. All the fishing boats are all part of the whole on-the-sea thing. So we do have a long history of association with activities underwater. So I'm not sure how much more we can do in that department, unless you mean exporting that service. And given that we're so close to the water, we should have more expertise in that area. But perhaps exporting that service to other territories. I think I'm aware of certain St. Lucians who have skippered vessels in other territories in the Caribbean and even internationally. And by chance, you had Alfonso, of course, a personal trainer. I think what better person to have on a boat, making sure everybody is kept in tip-top shape and ensuring the vessel gets here safely, you know. But I think St. Lucians are widely involved in various seafaring activities. I think your own Alex Bousquet is a former seafarer in his own right, you know.
He spoke to his family being involved in that.
Exactly, definitely. A long association with seafaring.
Definitely. And there was a Mango Bowl regatta on the weekend that just concluded. We'll be having that in our sports news tomorrow night for sure. And so
there's a school here called Just Sail as well that does training.
Definitely. You can also join the St. Lucia Yacht Club. They have a program at the marina. I have one more. Well, I'm just going to. Time is upon us, as I've been told. But I just have one more question. A number of questions coming in via WhatsApp. But can Mr. Leos use his influence to see a marina being built in Soufrière or Vieux-Fort to harbour those yachts? Is there any thought given to that? I mean, the events company, but I mean, I think that's a nice question considering events company. But you're seeing, and I mean, you were in Las Palmas and you saw the width of that marina.
Yes, it's quite a huge investment that'll be required to do that. But I think certainly in the case of Soufrière, I mean, you know about every weekend the number of vessels, even locally, that head down there to take part in one tour or another. So I think that Soufrière has a naturally deep water harbour, so there's no need for dredging per se. I've seen huge vessels docking in the Soufrière Bay. So, but it's all a matter of having the required finance to make it happen, you know. But certainly the attractions are there so when people dock there, there'll be more than enough for them to do. But like I said, again, it goes down to getting the money in place to make it happen, you know.
Yeah, you need that money. Las Palmas is a colony.
Yeah, it's part of Spain.
Spain.
You're Las Palmas and in Spain, so
definitely.
And the infrastructure is out of this world, you know.
All right. So final words from you, St. Lucia.
So like I said, I just wanted to reiterate that the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers has been culminating here for the last 28 years out of 32. And the expectation is that it will continue for quite some time to come. I think it's invaluable for St. Lucia, the exposure that it gives us, beyond the income generated by various St. Lucians, providing various services in terms of reprovisioning, water, taxi services, tours, hotels, guest houses, but the exposure that it gives St. Lucia to all those different nationalities that you could not otherwise get by purchasing an ad on TV or even on social media. But these are persons getting live experiences that they can go and talk about. And like I said, word of mouth is so powerful. So let's just make sure we give them the right things to talk about and be the perfect host for our visitors when they come here.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Kenson. Thanks for having me.
It was an absolute honor to have you here. And St. Lucia, I really want to encourage more individuals to get involved in sailing. We have some young individuals in the cruising community I know that are getting involved. It's an Olympic sport as well.
50-meter pooling has come.
Oh yes, and we saw that 50-meter pool. I can't wait for us to have one like that in St. Lucia. It looks gorgeous, and I mean the Swimming Association have been lobbying to have that done for a number of years now. Hopefully they can get it soon. I remember Sumon Please, he said, I want to see it before I die. I was like, Sue looks so young. We'll get it before. We'll get it before, so hopefully. All right, so thank you for being our guest tonight. And thank you, St. Lucia. Thank you, St. Lucia, for being part of our show. I'm sorry we couldn't get to most of the messages. We had a number of messages we could not get to. But definitely we want to continue to encourage people to drink water, continue to participate in sports. Parents, we still have some events ongoing in school sports. Try to see if you can take in some of that. And on behalf of our entire sports team, I'll be back tomorrow night with our sports news. And you could definitely go to St. Lucia Sports Online. That's www.stluciasportsonline for all the information. You could definitely see our sports news in case you miss it during our actual news package. You can say there on St. Lucia Sports Online. On behalf of our entire sports team, I'm Kenson Casimir. Good night.